You are now entering Maximum Driftcast, the only drifting podcast hosted by a Spanish soccer mom, a 30-year-old silver-haired fox going on 60, and finally, a 200-pound bowl of spaghetti with chimichanga arms.
The champions, we are the champions.
And welcome back to Maximum Driftcast, Corey.
Paco, I'm glad to be back. It seems like I missed a lot over the past week.
Yeah, totally, like a whole episode.
Well, it sounds like missing a week and then catching up on some news today, a lot more has changed.
Crazy news today, for sure.
Seems like the news of the Formula Drift season as we get closer, we're under 40 days away now.
Yep.
A lot of this information is slowly coming out more and more, and now we're to a point to figure out what's fully going on. And leading up to Long Beach, we usually do a state of drift, and we figured with all this news coming out, right now would be a perfect time to do the state of drift.
I wish we could bring up Sam and Jim Liaw and maybe possibly Ryan Sage as well.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I don't know how capable we are of doing that. I don't think we have the technology yet.
Oh, I think
I bet we could do it.
Oh, hey, Sam, what do you have figured out, dude? Have you been working on the internet or what?
I've been working on the internet over here. Just working on the internet at the Formula Drift office, and I think I piped in both Jimmy and Ryan into our interweb. So I think they're here now.
Catching up on some news today, a lot. Oh, no way.
Huh. It looks like somebody might have a video playing in the background. But let's see. Okay.
But yeah, Jim and Ryan, what's up, dudes? You're here, right?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Got him.
Welcome, gentlemen.
As Corey had mentioned, we're gonna do this whole state of the drift union as we've done in the past. We usually have done it at Long Beach, but this year we're getting started early because there's so much to talk about. And of course, there's no joking during this episode, right, Chris? Chris. Right, Corey. No joking.
Hey, Sam, this is Chris. No joking
Hey,
this
Chris.
episode. This is when we.
No goofs, no fun. We're just gonna talk drift facts. And so a lot of big changes for 2018. The first change, Jim and Ryan, this is a big deal if you guys want to address this. Apparently, you guys are going to be banning style. So what's your reasoning behind that for the 2018 season?
Oh wow, banning style. Yeah, I mean this has been something we've been really thinking long and hard about, and we just came to the conclusion that the word style is really it's too subjective, and we can no longer have it in the parlance of drifting. So it's time to exculpate ourselves of that term.
Great use of the word parlance. Great use of the word exculpate. I can say it. And that was also a perfect example of a joke, because we're not going to be doing jokes, but that is a joke. No more jokes from here on out. But for real talk, you're going to be firing Jared. What's the reason behind getting rid of Jared? I mean, we've all been asking for it for years, but.
Well, the main reason is because he does too many Instagram stories, and we're all tired of seeing his personal life, and he's just exposing too much, and it's not in alignment with the brand.
For sure.
How tough do you think it is going to be replacing Jared with Paco this year? Do you think it's going to be a pretty smooth transition?
Do you think
it should be pretty smooth? I think. Yeah, I think pretty much in terms of their command of the English language is pretty similar, and it's going to work out well.
You mean it's going to be very suave?
Oh boy. Sam, was that another joke or what? Was that an example?
That was also a joke.
Okay.
From now on,
good.
it. We're done with the jokes. So I guess let's get into it. The boring stuff. This is season 15. 15th season.
15 years. Wow.
They're so excited. They're just excited. You know what I mean? They're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
15 years
we're aged.
Of Formula Drift.
Finally aged.
Like a good wine.
How does it feel going into your 15 years, guys? This is a big deal for all of us. We've done episodes with each other before, and you know that we're big fans of the sport and the series. But this is another milestone, I think. Like my first year being at Formula Drift ever was 10, and that feels like it was a very long time ago. And a couple shades, my hair was a couple shades darker, and Jim had not changed physically at all, and Ryan had a full mullet. But now he's shaved his mullet, and we're on the 15th year of Formula Drift. How does that feel, guys?
No, it's cool. I mean, it's definitely flown by, but I mean, by any means, I think we always assume that the more we do this, the easier it's going to get. And obviously, we're going to get into a lot of that today. It's not that easy, and it doesn't necessarily get easier. The bigger the series gets, and more people involved, the more complicated it gets, and and things always happen. Like, you always think you can predict and plan everything out to your best. And we went into the off season really, really pumped about a lot of things, and we thought we had season 15 ready to go. But hey, shit happens.
I feel like you're about to tell us that Irwindale is back on the schedule.
Why would you say that?
Well, you guys released a press release today that said that, and either that's a lie, or maybe you're about to say that what everyone was, I think, at least I was kind of hoping for it. As much as I wanted to go to Vegas, I was kind of hoping that our abusive lover, Irwindale, who kept on trying to break up with us and then telling us that she wanted me back and then break up again, but she's back, baby. And how did that transpire? And you want to go into any details, as much details as you want, because we all want to know what went down.
I mean, it's definitely a love-hate relationship sometimes, but I think at the end of the day, if you put it out there, if Irwindale is alive and Formula Drift does not go there, I think the drifting world would fall over. Yes, there are fans that were wanting us to go to Las Vegas, and we were planning for that. I think people make it a lot simpler than it really is. It's not that Irwindale and Formula D are the only two entities in existence. It's not that there aren't others that are part of it. We're one event out of 365 days that the facility is open. So when they went away, though it impacted us tremendously, it impacted a bunch of other people as well. And when they announced that they were reopening, it was the same thing. It wasn't. We were just one little piece of the cog in everything that they were doing and their planning. So I mean, I don't want to get maybe too long-winded in the backstory. We didn't know all of it. We were one event. We were distant from the people that owned the facility, the people that were developing and wanting to develop the facility. We weren't sitting in the same office as the people that were leasing the facility, and we definitely were not. We can empathize, but we couldn't be in there with the people that called it a career to be there day to day. So there's a lot of other factors that were a part of it, but they announced it towards the end of December, going into the new year, and it took us literally 2 months to figure out if this was the right move to make. We had a lot of due diligence. We dug into, hey, is this for real? I mean, everybody joked around about it. I know going into the end of the season last year.
I never joked, to be clear. I never made new videos at the AM in Forsberg about joking about the return. That's not on me.
Hey, I mean, I honestly, I didn't like it at the time. I get it. And yeah, it happened. No, I didn't like it not because of what it was. I didn't like it because we sometimes were laughing about things that I think it affected other people's livelihood. And I think that's one thing that we really focus on, is that sure, you can clown on us all you want. You can meme about what we're doing and why we went back and forth and now we're back and it was all a hoax that it was closing down, but really it wasn't. It wasn't when you ask the people that work there every day, and the facility got saved at the 11th hour by another group that came in, and we had to figure out who they were, if they were for real, if this deal was for real, are they going to be around for more than 12 months? There was a lot of work that we felt on our end that we should do before making this decision. Otherwise, it would have been a bad. I think it would have been evident that we were irrational, or we were just reacting when, hey, December 27th, the announcement came out, and then December 28th, Formula D announces, hey, we're returning to Irwindale. That would not be responsible for us to do. So we had to do everything that we could and talk to everybody that we were able to speak with about, well, what happened? And why did this change? And now we have egg on our face because we told everybody this was the end. Everybody came out and celebrated the end. And now it's got 9 lives and it's back. It's alive. But at the same token, there were a ton of people that are like, I'm on vacation over the holidays. I'm getting text messages like, hey, it's been 48 hours. You guys are still deciding if you're going to go back. You need to go back. Why are you guys even deciding? So you kind of get both sides of it. So I mean, I don't know, right? Like I think we're just kind of like, you know, we're just like we did I think what we can over the last 2 months, and you know we had to make a executive decision to make the choice to go back, and we did.
And I think a lot of us found out via some dude's like Instagram story that then got shared virally. I forget how exactly the first announcement was, but yeah, I remember they announced it over the loudspeakers of the track, and someone had recorded that. What was your first emotion when you heard that? Oh shit, maybe we are coming back, or maybe Irwindale's at least staying. I should say, not coming back, but Irwindale's staying.
I think from our perspective, internally, if you know some of the inside and some of the backstory, there's always like this thing lingering, like what if, you know, because we not only knew people at the track, but we knew people that were associated with the new ownership, and so we would hear stories all the time. And it was really kind of hard to pin things down. But what everybody was saying that was in a position of power is that no, it's done, right? That we're moving forward. There's no way that this is not going to happen, and that was even happening up until the time that they had made the announcement past that. So when we first started hearing rumors, you know, the first person to hear from our side was Andy Luck, and of course we started having some long discussions about it. And Jim actually was out of the country at that time, so we couldn't even really communicate about what that really meant and if it was verifiable or any of that kind of stuff. But I think the reaction was like, no way. The impossible basically happened, because people have to remember the historical context of this is that, there is this kind of like this comical meme that had gone on for the past few years of it's closing, it's not closing, it's closing, it's not closing. And that's, you know, that's completely fair, because all we were doing is regurgitating what was being told to us by Irwindale and what was being told to us by sources that were close to people that were involved in this Irwindale deal. And it definitely behooves you, if you're interested in the topic, to like dig down and do some of the research there to kind of figure out how all these pieces came together and how it got sold in the first place and who it got sold to and the history and all that kind of stuff. It's really fascinating. But obviously, you know, I guess you'd have to say we were pretty ecstatic, but at the same time we were in a conundrum because we committed ourselves, you know, to announcing our schedule at SEMA, and we were making plans, and we'd spent money in Vegas, and we had big plans in Vegas. So we had to weigh all those factors, as Jim said, and it did take quite a few discussions to really come to a point and basically say, you know, how can we give this up? You know, this is where drifting originated in the United States for the FD brand and for drifting in general, at a high level. And if we don't do this, you know, somebody else might. We might not ever get that date back. You know, drifting and FD is such an institution of that venue. And I think one of the big selling points, which wouldn't have been a selling point even without this, it still would have been a big deal, is that the new guys that are in there now are motorsports enthusiasts. And if you go by the track, if you get an opportunity when they're open, they're already doing crazy stuff. They've repaved the drag strip. They're planning on refurbishing and updating a lot of the things there and really making it a really cool track. And not only that, but an entertainment center. So we're excited to see what they're going to do with it. But they're super motivated guys. Some of the guy that you heard on the clip, Tim Huddleston, if you ever get a chance to meet him at any of the events, he's a pretty incredible guy, very high energy, and it'll be exciting to see what they pull off.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I know. I think I can speak for many people on the side of this topic that I'm very pumped to be going back there. It's one of the best, if not the best, drift event of the season, and yeah, I'm excited that we're going back. Corey, Paco, what do you guys have?
Well, one of the things, like, it seems like half the people who's upset about this whole thing, they're mostly upset because they were already imagining a round in Vegas, and which, you know, for a lot of people it was like a new shake-up. You know, this round would get a new round in Midwest, and also a round in Vegas. And lots of people are saying, you know, like the Vegas racetrack is better. Some people are actually saying, no, the Irwindale track is better. But I don't think it is necessarily has anything to do with one being better than the other. But is there any reason why Vegas is not being considered anymore over, regardless of it being Irwindale being available?
I mean, if you're talking about keeping both Irwindale and Vegas, that's challenging. I think we talked about it over the years. It's a balance between what sponsors, what teams' ability to travel to X number of rounds, and where they are, where they're located. We used to be very West Coast heavy. That wasn't helpful, so we started spreading out and getting to different parts of the country. If we kept Vegas and Irwindale, it would have been basically 3 in kind of a, 2 Southern California and Las Vegas. That's very kind of heavy in a 4-hour driving kind of radius. So we have to spread it out. I think, Vegas would have been great. I think we were looking at that, and we were even part of the part that's not that simple, that everybody makes it to be really simple, is that, oh, you could just kind of rotate, or you could go here for 1 year and go there another year, or why don't you just try it out or whatever. But it's not, because we don't put on events like that. I think what we invest in, and what we do, is to try and build our relationship with the venue to be a longer term relationship. So our plans in Las Vegas was to add additional paving. We were planning to go to the Bull Ring, which is their short course oval, very similar to Irwindale and Wall Speedway in Orlando, and we wanted to pave the infield because the conditions were not suitable to what we wanted to do. And that would not be a 1 year kind of hit just to see, oh, did it work or not, and then walk away. No, we weren't wanting, that was not in our plans. Our plan was to make a long-term commitment and to spend the money to pave what we needed to pave. But again, circumstances of, well, we hadn't, finished those plans. We priced it out. It was starting to be a little bit higher than we thought it would be. And lo and behold, Irwindale pops his head back up and they come knocking. We were the last organizer to commit to being on their calendar. When we walked into their office a few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, they already had dates lined up for the stuff that they promoted themselves, for events like Moon Eyes. They were doing all these other events that were going on, that were already booking and committing to dates. We were the last one. But, again, we wanted to be as conservative as possible and do our homework before making this kind of choice.
Well, and the other thing too is I've been to the Bull Ring quite a few times at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and it's equivalent to almost like a New Jersey. It's a very small banked oval with a mild infield. If you guys eventually pave that, but looking at it now, and it's like, man, you guys run this very strong season all year, and then you end it at a course like that. I just couldn't see the story ending as exciting as if we were going to Irwindale. And
we were going to do our best that we could, Corey, to make it a really strong finale. We were planning on bringing a lot of the stuff that we had at Irwindale and that we use at Long Beach out to Vegas if it would support that. But to answer Paco's question, there's no way we could have forced it on teams at the 11th hour to say, yes, we're going back to Irwindale and going to Vegas. That just wouldn't work. That discussion is something that we would need to plan for many, many months in advance. But that's not to say that couldn't happen in the future if teams wanted that. Teams didn't really want to go to Canada, so now we're not in Canada and we're going to the Midwest. So the teams have a lot of control in how these things work, and there's no way we could have done like just a secret, flip of a switch and say, hey guys, we're going to be doing both of these events. It just wouldn't have been financially feasible for them.
Yeah, budgetarily, I know that each round costs most teams lots of money.
Well, then what we could look forward to 2019 then is replace Florida with Vegas. That'd be a pretty solid swap. Sam, would you agree?
I mean, I may say that, but actually after talking to Pat Gooden this year and hearing how much of a fan he is of Florida, I don't want to take that away from Pat.
Yeah, Pat would be pretty upset about that.
I heard also like the local drift is being slightly being affected recently in Florida. Like, so I think some drifting groups are kind of like disappearing or something like that. So like I think Formula Drift Florida is one of their events that they want to keep. I mean, like if you take that away from them, I think they're gonna be like a little bit on on the negative.
Nah, it's
I mean, yeah, it's definitely good to hit that part of the country.
Right.
But
Oh, for sure.
On the Irwindale topic, I noticed in your press release today it mentions 3-year deal. So that means that we are confirmed for 3 there.
Right. So to add to that, right? Like when we went back to talk to them, we had to make sure that, again, we're doing our due diligence. So we had to make sure that it's not going to be what we've experienced. And to Ryan's point, like there's always this thing kind of like looming over our heads the last like 4 or 5 years, ever since the facility. I mean, let's go back to all the craziness. Like the previous leaseholder filed bankruptcy. So a new group came in, and then the property owner sold it. And that leaseholder continued to lease from the new property owner that was planning to kick them out because they were going to build the outlet mall. And then the new property owners had their own like internal, lawsuit or whatever that was happening. And then it's like there's all this stuff. So everything was always a year to year. So where you guys out there thought we were messing around, like, oh, this is the last. Well, I don't think we ever promoted it as this is the last, but we rather promoted it as, well, it could be, because we didn't know. They were literally on a 6-month to 12-month lease extension at a time, and we were going along with it. I mean, I think there's at least one season that we kind of like, bit the bullet and would say, you know what, we're going to announce that we're going to go back to Irwindale, and we didn't know. And we took the gamble to do that because we felt pretty positive that was going to come through, and luckily it did.
Right.
And but literally it was year to year. It was, hey, it's February. Hey guys, we signed a lease extension, so we got you your October date. Okay, great. Let's revisit this in November and see if you can get another lease extension. And that's what was looming. So now, walking in here, it's like they have a long-term lease with the property owner with an option for, I think, it's like 5 and then another 5 years. We were able to sign a 3-year deal because there's some clauses within their lease agreement. So we had to keep it at a 3. But yeah, this is the first time ever since Irwindale opened that we were able to sign a multiple year deal with them. So I think it's a pretty big deal.
Definitely. And have we had Pro 2 at Irwindale? I'm brain fried.
Yeah, we have.
Did we? We have, but we haven't had the Pro 2 championship end there in at least a little bit, but that is now back, right?
Right. And that's another thing that's like, again, we're kind of like, loading the docket a little bit, is that we want to make sure that Pro 2 ends the same time the Pro Championship ends, that the Pro 2 teams can join in the festivities and ending the season, that they can participate in hanging out at the awards banquet and see all that happens, because we do give out Pro 2 awards, but I know it's difficult where if the Pro 2 season ends in Dallas and we're doing the banquet at Irwindale or in Southern California a month later, how many Pro 2 teams are really going to go out of their way and spend extra budget to come? So doing all this together, I think, makes a better conclusion to the season.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, Sam, before we get too far, I was just going to say, bringing back Irwindale, and Ryan, you kind of mentioned this, is like kind of the history of having Irwindale, and Irwindale not being there could, maybe disrupt or really change the flow or the energy of the sport in some degree, because the place has so much history. And, from my personal experience, growing up, or even when I went to my first drift event years ago, and then finally have an opportunity to drive in 2012 with you guys, one thing that you always look forward to is, I want to go battle, or I want to go drive at Irwindale. It's equivalent to like a boxer wanting to fight at Madison Square Garden. You want to be a boxer and you want to be the best boxer fighting the best ring possible. And I think by having that and still having that as a goal or a place to make history, even for yourself, it was something that changed my whole, outlook and career. Even like, I remember sitting on grid for the first time and Jared announcing my name for qualifying, getting ready to roll out on Irwindale. I'm like, dude, this is probably the craziest moment that I've ever experienced, because you see it from first year Formula Drift, you've seen D1 be out there, and now it's your turn to be there.
Yep.
And to lose it, I think that feeling is super important to drive a lot of these drivers to want to participate in it, because it is very historic, and it gives you that feeling of, I don't know. It's one of those things that really caught the fire. Yeah.
Well, I remember, Corey, that morning when you were there at Irwindale, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to qualify 33rd. You watch me, Sam.
Well, the first thing, and I did it, didn't I?
Yep.
And you did it. You did it. We're still
I'm a
proud
man
of
of
you.
my word. The other thing, right before that, I was actually telling you I was going to throw up on myself before qualifying.
Mom spaghetti.
Yeah, so I was going to do one or the other, and I did both, thankfully. But no, I think it's one of those things that really is keeping the sport, keeping the pinnacle, keeping the top of the top, because it is such a memorable place. And I think, like I said, going to Vegas, sure, it'd be cool. You guys would bring the same energy, but I think just the history behind it wouldn't have been the same.
And I don't think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, the cool thing that we thought about with Vegas is that we figured that we would be able to get a lot of our fan base from Southern California to come, but Vegas has changed a lot since the last time we've been there. And it's an incredible market now. And from all the research that we've done and other events that have been going on there, Vegas just seems to be like the place that is growing at such a tremendous rate. And so we thought we had a good opportunity to capitalize on being able to show Vegas fans that may have not seen drifting before what drifting is and do something cool there. But that said, it's incredibly hard to compete in that market because there is so much going on, and we dealt with that the last time around when we were in Vegas, where the track was promoting the event for us, and they did a ton of cool promotions, and it was an awesome experience. But there's definitely a lot that needs to be done. So, for us, it was going to be something that we had to test out and see, but we had, like Jim said, we had to commit to it. We had to do it for multiple years, or it just didn't make any sense. Right. So you can imagine like how crazy it was in the office when all of a sudden, as we're like at the 11th hour with Vegas, this information comes in, and all of a sudden, like all of our planning, everything that we've done could potentially change, and how do we deal with that? So.
Staying on the schedule topic, but moving away from Irwindale, I think last time we spoke to one of you guys, it was Jim at his house right after last season, and you had hinted that maybe we might go to the Midwest, and when we saw it confirmed, St. Louis is the place. What, in your guys' opinion, awarded St. Louis that round? Why that track and why that area?
I mean, a lot of it came down to, I think, what we might have brought it up before, is that, I mean, teams and sponsors dictate a lot of it. I think it's a fairly democratic process. Though, yes, ultimately there's some executive decisions that Ryan and I have to make in terms of what we decide to do with the series. But again, it's a fairly open channel of communication, and a lot of teams, at the end of the day, express that they struggled with crossing the border and the fees and et cetera, the extra expenses that it took to get to Canada. The fans were awesome, and we still are looking for ways to get back there. But where if you have a venue inside the continental United States that is part of the route within the U.S. and sponsors that are based in the U.S. that have U.S. budget that doesn't have a North American budget or even a global budget, their offices are different than what's in Canada or elsewhere. It just makes it that much easier to go there. And so, and it's a facility that is now operated by, ironically, the previous promoter in Las Vegas. So he is very familiar with our product. He knows us. He's been wanting us to go there for a number of years. And, so we made the decision to switch Montreal to St. Louis.
Tell us about the track a bit for those of us that have never seen or never been there.
Yeah, Gateway Motorsports Park is, it's a multi, facility that has a drag strip, that has a oval that is recently bringing NASCAR and IndyCar back. They ran a spectacular IndyCar race, nighttime race with, packed house. They have an infield road course, and the part of the infield road course is where we're going to run. We've laid it out. In terms of paddock, the seating, things like that. So actually, we have a team of guys going out there tomorrow afternoon to check it out and kind of do the final touches there.
Sweet. And not too far from the border for Canadian fans. So I don't know how far it actually is from Montreal, but I know it's close-ish, right?
Yeah,
Wall is definitely close. Wall is very close.
Oh, Wall?
Wall is closer to Montreal than I think St. Louis is.
My geography of everything kind of east of Arizona isn't very strong. I'm sorry.
Not his strong,
Yeah.
his strong ace. One of the things, like a lot of people is asking about, like the layout, saying that track is it's gonna be a very fast track. Would there be any kind of comparison with another track as far as like the layout?
Oh my God, old school Texas.
Oh, like that.
It could be. I mean, I think we have shifted more to what's going to be the best for tandem. So that may or may not necessarily reflect, the longest run up. It's really going to depend. Whenever we choose venues, there's some absolute minimums that are needed. It's got to be location, infrastructure, and then what kind of constraints are on site that are going to prohibit us from doing what we need to do. Does it have a great track but no paddock space? Does it have tons of paddock space but the track is lackluster and it has no grandstands? So all these things are in consideration, and there was a number of different venues that we were looking at in the Midwest that met most of those conditions but had one that just didn't make enough sense. Or if it rained, for example, and we had to have some people on grass that they could sink down 2.5 feet, and then that we'd have a major problem, and the probability of rain in that time during that time of the year is 80%. So you have to factor all these things in. But I think specifically to the track, as you mentioned, I think we'll probably go for a configuration that we think is going to produce the best tandem. That's kind of been like the trend for us over the past few years.
And how do you make that determination? Are you consulting drivers? Are you going to have someone there on the ground to kind of set points and locations and speed and all that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we have other events or people that have gone to a track before, so we have some examples of ways that it could be done. And then, with what Jim mentioned, we have, Kevin and all of our ops crew going out, taking the measurements that we need, putting those up against other measurements that we have from other tracks, measuring the turn radius, all that kind of stuff, having all that data, and then saying, this is the best place to get on course, this is the best place to get off course, this is what the flow is going to look like. If we do the flow this way, it's going to add an extra 30 seconds to each run. And then when you factor that in over X number of practice runs, X number of qualifying runs, this is how we need to adjust for time in order to make the event flow. Similar to the problems that we experience in Orlando, right? There's one on, one off. Right. And there's no way to get around that. But everybody hates the fact that you have to do burnouts or have the burnout box on the track as opposed to in pre-grid. And so, there's just no way around that. And that's a major constraint on that track. And we have to factor that into all of our planning. But, those are some of the things that goes into it.
Any other track schedule questions, guys, or anything you Ryan and Jim want
any
to say
changes?
about schedule?
Yeah, I think maybe we should also review the schedule in terms of Pro 2 as well.
Right.
One of the things I guess I didn't touch upon when we're talking about St. Louis is that the facility has a lot more paddock space, and obviously, if a pro team is having difficulty crossing the border to go to Canada, a Pro 2 team definitely is going to be that much more of a challenge.
Right.
So our Pro 2 season runs. It starts at Road Atlanta, goes to Seattle, then St. Louis, then Dallas, and then Irwindale. Right? No, not Seattle.
No, Seattle.
Goes to St. Louis, Dallas, and Irwindale.
4 rounds.
Yep.
4 rounds.
Got it. Speaking of space, there's been a lot of talks about the lot next door from Irwindale taking over a big piece of the parking area where usually the pits are located. Are you guys thinking about something, like maybe moving the pits or something like that, or?
That's one. It's an ongoing variable now. There is a deal that they're working out with the logistics company next door that they're going to take up a portion of the paddock, and it might be a significant portion. So we have a plan B layout of how that's going to work. So we have kind of both scenarios laid out.
Okay,
makes sense. Yeah, I think that's it on tracks. As far as track configurations, you guys are going to be running similar layouts throughout the season, or are you guys planning on changing a few venues as far as track layouts, or how far have you guys made it with just track configurations through the year?
Wall Speedway, you have to jump the wall now into the grandstands.
That'll be
That's
cool,
gonna be the
Sam.
new ending. Yeah, it's gonna be sweet.
And they're gonna land in your lap. You're gonna be over there with the catcher's mitt.
Yeah, we just had one of our sporting regulation calls today with the judges to go over, some of the stuff that's going to be hopefully getting announced in the next week or so in the new version of the sporting regulations. And part of that is talking about, each track layout, what worked, what didn't, what problems did we have, what visual issues did we have for certain tracks and things like that. So I don't think there's going to be any drastic major changes, but I think for Irwindale, there's a real possibility that we might experiment with something more drastic than you're used to. And there's a couple of ideas that are on the table. As you know, we do Thursday night drift there, and that's going to be continuing. So it kind of gives us an opportunity to play a little bit with possible configurations that might work for Pro and for Pro 2 at that venue.
Awesome.
Nice.
Sweet.
Any new sponsors coming into the series?
Yeah, over the off season, going into or coming out of the PRI show, something that we've worked on for a while is, when we started the Pro 2 championship, we wanted it to grow and we wanted to develop the format of it and encourage drivers to participate in it, to grow and stay in it, maybe not necessarily jump to pro right away, and also find specific partners to it. So I know leaving SEMA, we talked about Nexon and Achilles jumping on as the exclusive tire suppliers,
right,
to make it a more of a controlled environment, cost control, logistics support, shipping of tires, etc. But coming out of PRI, we announced that Link ECU is going to be the title sponsor of the Pro 2 Championship. And what that adds is, again, more attention that we need to give to the Pro 2 series. And one of the biggest factors, and I know a lot of Pro 2 teams and fans have demanded it too, is that we're going to be adding live streaming qualifying for the Pro 2 series.
Nice.
For this season. So thanks to Link ECU and their 2-year partnership with us, that gave us the ability to kind of reinvest in that series. And so on qualifying day, we'll be broadcasting Pro 2.
You hear that, Corey?
Yeah, that's the only my time to shine, Sam. I go out there and just throw it down for there and back out.
Yeah. Sure,
No,
it's time. It's possible, but at least that's good news. I mean, I rip on Corey because it's my job here, but that is something that's important. I think for Pro 2 drivers is to get that visibility, regardless of performance. So it validates definitely the series to show those guys in the struggle from the start.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is we talk about this all the time. Is what's the sales points? The difference between Pro 1 and Pro 2. How could you sell a Pro 1 program versus a Pro 2 program? And ultimately, one of the only differences is the live stream qualifying. If you're looking at on-site activation, you're going to be in the same pits as the Pro 1 guy. You're going to get live stream during competition days. And so now you're on an even playing field in a sense to be able to supply the same or a similar deck other than, missing 3 or 4 rounds that you're not getting a Pro 1. But it does help with the sell for sure, just to have that ability to get that live stream coverage, which is cool. It's hopefully developing the Pro 2 drivers to be more prepared advancing into Pro 1. Even though it's simple as live stream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And as far as sponsors for the main series, or what would you call it, Pro 1 or just Pro or just Formula Drift? Pro. Any changes? Anybody new?
Yeah, I mean, last year you guys probably saw that we added a bunch of event entitlements. That was kind of through our relationship with ITW. We re-signed ITW and their Black Magic brand to be the title sponsor for the next 2 years, along with Gum Out. And then they're actually working to bring on an event entitlement for each of the event rounds this year. So you're going to see some really cool brands that you saw last year, but also some new ones at every single round. So we've got Advanced O'Reilly's, and we also have added 2 other brands from them, Fast Orange, and what's the other one, Jim?
Permatex.
Permatex.
There you
go. One question regarding the sponsors and all that. Since the whole FIA, recognizing drifting as a professional motorsports, have you guys, as an institution, as an entity, have you guys seen like a more interest from the industry into supporting drifting or supporting Formula Drift?
Not with us. I'm sure the the international series have seen a little bit more attention because of that. But I think that whole topic of conversation still has a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of things out there that is a work in progress. I think for us, what we've tried to do is to be out there a little bit more, participate in certain motorsports conferences. We never used to go to the PRI show. We did. Now we participate on panels. We went to, we participate in the SEMA NPMC Media Trade Conference. We're trying to be out there to educate not just, the brands that we expect to know what drifting is, but there's a lot of other brands out there that make really applicable product for drifting, or can be applicable for drifting, and can also thus support teams even on the grassroots level. And that's education that we need to be out there doing. Not always about, sure, the kind of the sexy part is like, oh, let's go get the Coca-Cola and sign a $10 million 30-year deal with us. Well, that's obviously one part of it, but the other part of it is, hey, there are companies that make intake manifolds and fuel rails, and that are components within a race car that the racers need, that they need to have technical support and even contingency support. So we have to do that part of the educating as well.
I think. Go ahead, Paco.
Yeah, just probably a more serious question.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask a question because we were discussing this earlier. You guys were talking about new sponsors coming on board. Mentioning Nexen signed another 2-year deal with you guys, and then at the end of last year, or even the beginning of this year, the mentionings of Hankook no longer participating in the sport. And at that point, you see a lot of drivers kind of shuffling around. You kind of stay on top of the news as far as what's happening. With Hankook backing out, how's it affected you guys, if it did in any way? And is there any potential newcomers coming in to fill that void, or do you guys have that kind of already facilitated with the current suppliers that you have in the series?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the timing of that was not ideal. It didn't give us a lot of time to figure out a plan B. It didn't give teams time to work on plan B. It put a lot of strain on the 4 remaining tire manufacturers to support the field. I think we have a lot more interest this year than previous years, or the previous season, of competitors that want to participate. And one of the key components is tires, to find a tire manufacturer that can support them. And I think the 4 have taken on quite a bit of a load and almost maxed out in terms of what they're able to do, tires that their supply, budget, logistics, etc. But it goes to show, like, one of the things that we have to put our minds together and to figure out is, drifting is very unique in comparison to a lot of other motorsports, is that from day one, tires was a vital commodity, but at the same time was supplied. I mean, brands were giving tires away and supplying teams with tires all day long. And then it escalated to money and tires, and then money, tires, logistical support. So the tire companies have actually invested quite a lot in the sport, where in other cases, if you went to, touring car racing or, open wheel, whatever, there's either a one control tire supplier, or maybe at most 2, and then you have to buy those tires from those manufacturers. And that's why those relationships are formatted in that way. We don't have that, and I think it's evident now that this is a hurdle that we have to overcome. But unfortunately, again, the timing wasn't great. We are in works of talking to as many brands as we can. We actually had one that was really close, and it didn't come through at the end of the day. And we have to to put our minds together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suggest Corey to be the first drifter to publicly chew on a Tide pod, just like Ronk did it, and bring Tide into the series. I mean,
whatever it takes.
Yeah,
bring the corporate box in. No, but that's the thing is, you look at all these people coming on, and then obviously Hankook taking the direction. But it's funny because as soon as they bailed off, it looked like all the other tire companies looked at it as a bigger opportunity, for them to invest into more drivers or invest more into the series, and. It seems like it didn't impact you guys very much at all.
I mean, it definitely had an impact. I wouldn't say that it didn't have an impact. Anytime you have a brand that was seemingly committed
Right.
Up until the time of the start of the season, and then basically kind of like mysteriously have to make this announcement, it's not good because it doesn't allow us really the opportunity to do the kind of sales cycle that we would need in order to replace them. And so that's why, we're out to the market to try to figure out, is there somebody that's out there that can help support drivers that want tires, that need tires, and that's a really challenging thing. But if you are in a job where you do sales, and you understand that these kind of things happen all the time. Like, if we're doing this for 15 years, it's a constant battle of cycling brands in and cycling brands out. And we've been super lucky because so many of our sponsors have been around, have been retained by the series for close to 15 years, and Falcon's one of those brands, and there's quite a few that have been on for many, many years. Sometimes you're lucky if you get a 3-year cycle with somebody. So we've been super, super fortunate in that sense. And when you have brands like ITW that are bringing on more of these like mainstream brands, mainstream motorsports parts brands and retail outlets, we're certainly starting to see more of a vibe from those people saying, wow, I didn't realize how crazy this sport was. And I didn't realize that it's not what I thought about when I thought about the word drifting. It's not these like weird people doing burnouts in a parking lot. There's actually kids coming out to these events. So from that standpoint, even when a Hankook happens, we're still, excited that people are investing in the sport at the rate that they have been in the past, and oftentimes more. And sometimes you just take a hit like that and we have to deal with it, but that's part of the game.
But it's been great to see people step up.
Right, yeah,
so
absolutely.
ITW step up a few years ago. Nexon has obviously filled in a bit of a gap here. So every time I feel like there has been a hit, there's always been a question is like, oh man, is drifting done forever for good? And then suddenly someone else who is a huge fan of the sport doubles down and they throw in. And I think that's just part of motorsports. And we're going to continue to see that throughout time.
That's it.
What, Paco, you have any more on this subject, Paco?
I was looking at that press release, and obviously you guys said that Thursday night drifts are coming back to Irwindale, Pro 2, and is there anything else we're missing?
Ryan, are you still going to be in the booth speaking with Jared like we've been seeing?
I thought Paco was coming in.
Oh yeah, Paco. Paco's replacing
Ryan,
Jared.
Paco, yeah.
Off with his head.
Yeah, there is something we could talk about there a little bit. We are planning on basically the same team and the same general kind of production for TV and for live stream next year or this year, but with some added production elements that we hope will make the broadcast better. And trying to figure out what areas are we seeing in terms of social media, in terms of live stream distribution that can be better for for the fans. We did see a massive uptick in viewership last year when we changed our distribution model. So we think we've got something pretty solid there. Now it's just about how do we present the best possible product to people, given the budget constraints that we have. And one of the ways that we've been starting to play with that in the off season, as Jim alluded to, is we bring on these new partners that want to add an element to the show, like qualifying for Thursday. Another one of those is that now that Robbie Nishida has retired from drifting, he has come together with another brand partner of the series, JE Pistons, to help create new technical segments for the live stream. So Robbie is going to come out from Japan and be at all the events next year, and is going to basically serve as kind of like an investigative reporter to find out what happens on Thursday and on Friday that he can put on videotape, tell a story, and then report to fans in the live stream on Saturday. And if it means staying up until 2 o'clock in the morning to see somebody change an engine or go through something crazy in their paddock, that's kind of the idea behind it. And so JE has been helping put this concept together, and we're super stoked on that. And they're going to be doing a more formal press release later on.
That's huge.
But one other thing that Robbie's going to do while he's out there is that and this will probably be more pertinent to drivers more than anything, but it will help, in terms of the flow of the show is that for the longest period of time, we haven't really had a really good procedure on how to deal with protests that doesn't really shut down the show. Because the way that it has currently worked is that once somebody levies a protest, they report to the race, either the race director, with Kevin, or they get it up to race control. And race control has to basically look at it. He passes it off to somebody else. In the past, that's actually been me or somebody else. And then things go weird. Things get weird, right? Because the person that we had in that position left the company a few years ago, and we never really filled it. So we didn't really have like a good solution for that. And it didn't really matter so much because we weren't getting a lot of protests, but it's become evident that we need a way to kind of fill that gap. So not only is Robbie going to come in and do this content piece, he's also going to be kind of acting as a driver steward, almost like a fourth judge in a way, where he's going to have his own console, similar to what we're looking at right here, that's going to have all the shots of what's going on the live stream, on the live broadcast. And if somebody wants to put a protest in, he has the ability to go back and look at those runs, see if the protest is valid, and review those runs in real time, slowing them down without having to consult with the live stream production crew, without having to tell anybody. He can do this completely autonomously, and then basically say, you know what, I think this protest is valid. Let me go take it to race control. Or you know what, didn't make it this time, invalid protest, right?
Oh,
so
I think
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot in depth over the years about what is one of the biggest hurdles for the series, and that has been those close calls and those protests. So to have someone that is now going to be judge, jury, and executioner, I mean, he gets to make the call, right? Or is he passing on his opinion and you guys are making the call?
We were talking about that today, actually. We think what we want to do is have Robbie say, this is a valid protest, and then have a majority body vote on it at that time.
Gotcha.
There's also another field of thought that just let Robbie make the call, but I wouldn't want to make that decision for him without consulting with him first on that, if that's the burden that he would want to bear. But I think Kevin and the judges kind of think that we do need some majority committee to make a vote for it to be fair for the drivers.
Gotcha. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely got to be a huge help alone just to have that one bit of separation from them to you guys, just because I imagine the entire protest process really ground the gears in the cycle of the show, just to have that end essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly can. If anybody's been up on the spotter stand, or if anybody has noticed a delay in the broadcast for some particular reason, and you're seeing more commercials run, or we're trying to fill the time with Lorette, what ends up happening is once we get a protest, if it does look like a valid protest, I tell the guys, hey guys, this needs to actually be reviewed. Then they have to pull up the clip either in the production suite or on one of their monitors in front of them and go through it. And if there happens to be a weird glare that's coming in, that's hitting the screen, then they've got to go down to the production suite and be in a dark room. And it just wasn't right. It wasn't the right setup for us. So being able to have Robbie with a self-contained unit should hopefully mitigate some of those issues. And the best part is that we won't have to stop the show for that. The only time we'll have to stop the show is when we say a protest has been enacted, it's been validated, and this is what we're going to do.
And then I imagine Robbie's going to hopefully talk us through that as well, right?
It would probably be him or maybe one of the judges saying, hey, we received a protest. This is the details of the protest. Here is the content that we can show you that justifies the protest. This driver did this, and that wasn't caught or whatever. And then we would move forward with the result.
And as far as the rules changing, are there any drastic changes in procedure as far as protests or the rules go?
I don't really think in procedure. We're going to do a specific document for Pro 2, but I think outside of that, the procedure will basically be out the same. It's like you'll have a certain time limit that you can put the protest in each of the different rounds, and as long as that's abided by, it'll be looked at.
Sweet. Corey Paco, what do you think?
I think that Lorette is the best thing that ever happened to Formula Drift.
Is Lorette still around?
Yeah, Lorette is still around. We talked to her last week. We're trying to work out a bigger role for her to have her do more Pro 2 stuff as well. So that's kind of in the works. I'd say that's more like 50-50. But we definitely want to expand her role. We love her. We think she's great.
Yeah. One of the most fun things about watching her too is how much better she's getting as far as technical knowledge. And she even told us that she went to automotive school simply to learn, not to work on cars, but simply to learn how they all work and how to talk about it better to us. So she's definitely put in the time to be more technical. But it's great to hear that we have now Robbie for the super nerd stuff that we all love, and most importantly, deciding those difficult judging calls.
And Robbie in particular, I think is a real benefit for the series. For people that don't know, Robbie has probably spent the most amount of time with Lantane and with Yen on the FD Japan trips. And so being able to have ongoing discussions about the philosophy of drifting and like how to make things more clear and how to interpret things and what does this mean and what does that mean. Robbie's been in all those discussions, so he's coming into a situation that he knows a lot about already, and he's already given his input on a lot of these things, so it's been cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool also to hear that even new fans will get a little bit more insight and information about the series itself. And hopefully these stories that Robbie is able to create will also be more relatable to a lot of people watching this show, and maybe retain an audience or create some new fans just based on the more information. I think the more information that goes out, the more fans we can create. So you guys are doing definitely a killer job on developing that. I just don't know what else you guys can do.
I mean, I think that's a great point, Corey. Is that that's the part of it, right? There's fans at all different levels of understanding of the sport, and somebody may be walking into it. This is day one, watching the first live stream ever, and there's somebody that's been watching Formula D since season one and knows every driver inside and out, their vehicles, and every spec on every vehicle that's competing on track. And in order for us to grow the sport and to gain additional exposure, to retain fans, to grow the audience, we have to do that. And I hope it shows to even the most like pessimistic hecklers out there. It's like we're reinvesting in this product so that we can grow it, because ultimately your favorite driver, whoever it is, Ken Gucci, Chris Forsberg, you want them to continue to do this. That are currently in the series, you want them to continue to thrive in the series. And how can we do that? There are certain ways that we work on, and one of them is to grow the fan base, because the more eyeballs we can get on this sport and for them to understand various aspects of it, and we can't speak to only the most gearhead of gearheads, because that will alienate everybody else. But at the same time, we can't ignore them either. So we're always trying to find this balance of storytelling and sport, educating of the sport, because again, we're trying to grow this fan base.
And with all these, like trying to grow the sport and tell the stories, how's the TV show doing? Like the guys, was it an NBC, Corey? NBC Sports?
CBS Sports.
CBS Sports. Okay. How is that going? Like, I mean, are you guys planning on keep doing it? Is it gonna get any bigger, or is it gonna move into a different channel, or what are you guys gonna do to attract even more audience that can't watch live?
Well, I mean, the live product for the foreseeable future is always going to be the live stream and the cut down live stream content that we distribute on social. I think that's going to hold as long as we see the trends in social and in live stream continuing to do what they're going to do. The live stream will always be our product. Now, where you're able to get the live stream is always going to be something that is not necessarily a moving target, but it very well could change depending on how people are consuming content. Now, the big question is that what do you do with a traditional TV show? And that's been a topic of discussion for us for probably the past, I would say maybe since the inception of the live stream. It's been a topic of conversation, is what's the best way to approach that? Now, the interesting thing about where we are right now as a company is that this year is the final year of our television contract with our current partner, and they've been great to us. we have to make a decision at the end of that period to figure out what we're going to do with television content. Is it that we modify the television content to go away from the live to tape stuff and tell more stories about drivers? One of the benefits of being on traditional TV that we've seen is that even though it's not necessarily the live stream audience, it is a certain kind of audience. Yep. Our show rates the best in the 18 to 34-year-old demographic on CBS Sports. And that's something that we're proud of. And the other thing that it does is that it allows us to distribute the TV show internationally. So one of the primary reasons why we do the TV show and the live to tape shows plus the Formula Drift Insider shows is so that we can distribute it internationally. And the international distribution has been one of the ways that we have been able to grow the brand internationally. So we have to have an answer to that if we're going to change the way we do TV substantively. If we're going to have a scaled down version of a TV show so we can put more into live stream production, that could potentially be one answer. It could be a hodgepodge of things. It could be a completely different direction. But I think those questions are unanswered right now. What we do know is that the current platform and program that we have serves a lot of interest. It serves some series interest. It serves some sponsors interest. And it gives us diversity in the way that we're doing our content distribution, because drivers can say they're on this TV show. They can also show metrics on the live stream. So it's a complicated topic, but it's something that I really personally am invested in and trying to figure out what's the best for the series. And there's a lot of really cool things on the horizon.
I was just thinking, and I love the fact that live stream has gone away, but why not look at something like Amazon Prime TV or something? If you're going to be
Netflix,
something with the future, man. Like, I think the sport has been the ones kind of innovating how motorsports and sports in general has been distributed.
Well, you've seen how like Netflix started doing shows that are released weekly instead of like releasing the whole thing. Now they have some shows that every week every whatever releases monthly. So yeah, like you said, Amazon, Netflix. What's another service?
Hulu.
Hulu. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other opportunities that are still online. And they're getting a lot of traction.
What's to stop from any of those services from actually introducing live stream for sporting events? I mean, Netflix seems to be pretty open-minded about a lot of stuff, so why would they not express interest? Have you guys ever approached any of those majors?
Yeah, I mean, one, who says we haven't had those discussions, and then two, the whole media landscape changes so fast, and to Ryan's point, it's something that we're really focused on and we're investing a lot of time in. But it's evolving so fast. Like you said, who says they're not going to live stream? Well, yeah, Amazon Prime is live streaming Thursday Night Football. They signed a deal with the NFL, and they're going to be live streaming that. Facebook signed a deal with WSL, and their surf competitions are going to be live stream on Facebook. So everything's all kind of like meshing together. And where do you what's the best plan of attack? What's the best path? How do we put our arms around it? And the caveat to all that is, what do our sponsors want? There are still brands that really love TV, and convincing them that, look, there's a different direction we want to go, be it live stream, be it episodes on Netflix, things like that, have to be part of the overall conversation. Now, again, to kind of sidetrack that. Well, you talk about Amazon Prime, you talk about Netflix. Well, they don't give you metrics. So to Ryan's point, that's tricky too, right?
Right.
You could do a live stream on YouTube and you can get full metrics. You can say, how many minutes they've watched and who they are and, where they're watching from. Well, you could go to Amazon Prime, which may serve a more targeted and maybe a better consumer audience, but they're not going to tell you that 100,000 people, 200,000 people, 1 million people watched this upcoming broadcast, right? HBO, Netflix, they don't tell you any of that. You just know that there's a lot of people that have subscribed to that service and they have tuned in, and they know when people are watching because they renew their contract with you so you can do another season of whatever shows you're doing. So these are all things that we're always navigating through because they change, and it's challenging to stay on top of all of it.
Just to be in a position where you guys have so many different types of options is kind of a cool position to be in some degree. You know.
Oh, I love this topic because for me, seeing the way that the landscape is developing is so much of a moving target. As soon as you see something going in a certain direction, you start to see an area where maybe it's a little bit weaker than you thought it was. You know, I'm fascinated by what might or might not come out of this WSL Facebook deal because, you know, we stream on Facebook as well. We're streaming on Facebook right now.
Right.
One of the things you can't do on Facebook is you cannot insert commercials. So how are they going to deal with that? Is there going to be a workaround? Is there going to be a special exemption? Are they going to be able to do organic in-show branding? Are they going to be able to explain that to their sponsors? What are they going to do to take what they were doing on their own platform and replicate it or change it enough to where it benefits all parties so that they can get the Facebook audience, right? Because that's really what people are going for when you go on Facebook. And it'll be really fascinating to see how these things play out. But what we have to do as a series is ask ourselves some serious questions. Who are we serving? What do our sponsors want? What do the drivers' sponsors want? And what type of resistance are we going to run into if we go in a certain direction that is antithetical to the way that we're doing it right now? That's why our approach has always been trying to have a well-balanced approach. We can check the boxes for TV, and then we can tout the live stream numbers, and we're not putting any restrictions on the live streams so that everybody can see it if they want to. And what we try to do with the live stream now is really how do we make it a better show? You know, there's certain areas of the show where I'm just like, you know, we could do better than that. We could do better telling stories. We could do better production. And trying to be able to get that into an area where it's easier to understand from a financial perspective of how to go and sell it to people that maybe don't understand every little nuance of what this new technology, even though live stream has been around for a long time, when you try to sell it to people, sometimes they really get it, and other times they're like, well, wait, are you guys on TV? So that's always a challenge as well.
And one thing that I know that the fans have been asking for, the sponsors have been asking for, like they say, you know what, we want some male bodybuilders involved in this live stream. We want handsome guys. We want underwear models. We want one of them to be old, looking much older than he looks, with a lot of gray hair. We want someone south of the border. We want someone who's going to give us that little bit of spice. We want it spicy. And we want someone who looks like they've got chimichanga arms and hot dog legs. So,
absolutely, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed on this press release there might be some sort of an announcement about some people like that. No.
I like it.
That's premature.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can.
I don't know where to go from there.
I mean, I would hope that maybe you guys might want to include something like that in your live stream.
Yeah, me too. That'd be cool if they did. I just don't know how to even ask them, or if there's anything in the works.
They're so silent.
Are we putting people on the spot?
Next year.
Well, was that trying to be a lead-in?
That's a good lead-in.
I would say that's a transition.
Yeah. Good.
I think you guys need to do that.
Set up. Yeah.
Sam, do you want to do it? Sam, you can do it because you just did a great intro. I think you can.
Hey,
and he seems the most informed.
I got an idea.
Okay, hold on, Jim. Jim has an
What
idea.
if you guys did something?
What?
Oh, Jim.
Jim, what?
Jim, how could you?
Don't
I mean,
even.
Dude.
Don't
we
even.
couldn't.
We love hearing your voices so much that maybe we should have more of you guys.
Paco? What?
Wow. Okay. Well.
Hold on. I
demanding.
liked it.
I mean, is it because of my velvety nasally
voice, probably.
Or is it-
We want the three of you to cram in the same booth as Ryan and Jared.
Oh, okay. We might be able to do that.
I mean,
if you think that firing Ryan and Jared is the best idea, I mean, I agree. And let's fire them. Get some stronger guys in there.
Yeah, way stronger.
better looking.
Way big. Corey could take Jared in an arm wrestling fight. He says it all the time.
Oh yeah.
And as far as swimming and aerodynamicy in water or on land, I think that I can beat Ryan.
Probably. Sam, yeah, absolutely, Sam. I've seen you with your shirt off for sure.
Definitely. And you guys don't have anyone that really represents the south of the border vibe that a lot of people are going for, and I think that our crew might have a little bit of that.
Maybe.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Wait.
I'll tell you what. Let's pull the cat halfway out of the bag because I think looking at some of the comments, people have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, we are looking to produce more content within the series and within the live stream. And I think doing something with you guys might be a really good idea. What do you say?
Wow. Oh
no,
my
thank
God.
Wait, I have to ask my mom for permission.
I
Ours has to be in bed by 8:30. But once we ask all of our parents, I'd say let's do it. And maybe there's going to be a fresh announcement coming very soon, talking about what exactly that could be. But for right now, let's just say it's a soft maybe. I'm going to check my schedule. But yeah.
hold on, Ryan. Would this be something potentially for all 8 rounds?
I believe
Why
it
not?
would. I believe it would. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow. I guess the drift cats are out of the bag.
Yeah.
Good one, Paco.
I stole it from Andy Hatley on the chat. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So it sounds like we'll be going to all 8 rounds of Formula Drift this year.
Let's make it 9. Fudge it.
Yep. We'll be going to all 8 rounds, participating in some live stream stuff with Formula Drift this year.
I'm going to be driving. I don't know about you, Corey.
What's that?
I'm going to be driving.
You're gonna be competing
Yeah,
this year?
yeah. I mean, I don't know about you.
You petitioned and you got your license? I can't wait.
I got it, and the Corvette needs to be ready for
Formula Drift this year.
I'm going pro. I'm not going pro 2. I'm skipping.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
You must
So-
probably know somebody, or you have tons of money. I don't know.
Yeah, well, both.
Both.
Yeah. Connections.
And actually, I think that really leads into the other final major honest announcement, and that's that Ryan and Jim, you guys are now doing a special boss bonus round after someone wins the event. They got to then drift against one of you guys. So it's kind of like the video games where you beat the final boss, and it's like, oh no, just kidding, there's one more. And it's gonna be Ryan and or Jim in their drift cars because you guys are gonna start drifting pro level next year.
Well, Sam,
right.
it's funny you said that because I just saw an article that Jim sent out that they're going to be competing in Bubba Drift's El Camino, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so that was just...
That's a crazy decision to go with a decade-old car, but
Decade?
you guys know best.
Well, the reason is, Sam, is because they don't know how to drive a manual. It's an automatic.
Gotcha.
So this makes it a little easier.
Well, I think it's a very ballsy decision from you guys, but no more ballsy than hiring us. So
It would be
good luck.
it'd be ballsier for the driver that had to drive against us.
Hey, you have to change the rules so you can't lose. That's part of the deal with being the final boss is you get to change the rules. Before we get to Instagram questions, do we have any other? I mean, there's obviously an endless conversation to be had with you guys. We can't take you all night. Is there any other 2018 procedurals or announcements or anything else we can think of we want to discuss before we move to the Grams?
Brian has a question.
I was just curious.
Brian, hit it.
Oh,
Hey.
God. Here we go. Hold on. Shh. All right, Brian.
Hey,
It's all yours.
It's just a simple question. No, it's just I was curious about if there was going to be. I know that over the years, judging is becoming a lot more transparent, and it's been really great seeing how people can come into the sport and understand what's going on a lot easier. Is there any future changes going towards how judging can be understood or be perceived online with like more visual aids or any other tools like that?
Let me take a stab at that. Yeah, I mean that is always an area of concern for us. I think sometimes understanding, in a sense, you're almost doing psychology on your fan base to say, what am I not getting right here? If we're seeing a certain segment of fans not understand things, is it because they're new? Is it because we're not communicating it properly? Is it because the judges are inconsistent? With all these things, you have to be honest and ask yourself, what is the best way to mitigate that? But I certainly think this year in particular, and in the past couple of years, when we've simplified the criteria, when we've found examples where time and time again certain things seem to be confusing, we try to get more into the details of those things to figure out how we could actually make that easier to understand. One thing, I don't know if Kevin wants me to say this or not, but I don't really think it's that big of a deal. One thing that we are going to do is we are getting rid of the front brake light. And
That's a big deal.
Yeah, and the reason why we're doing that, I don't think it was going to be an announcement or anything. I think it's fine. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But no, I'm pretty sure it's fine. The reason why we implemented that, and I don't want to sideline your question too much, but it's relevant because this is a perfect example of it.
Absolutely.
We instituted that because we wanted to be able to identify when somebody was braking in an area that they shouldn't have been from the front, right? And that visual aid was going to help the drivers. Help the judges be able to tell the fans that they shouldn't be braking in that particular area. right? And now they have a justification for it because, hey, there's the light. There's a guy crashing into the other dude. One guy had the light on, the other guy didn't. But now that we've seen these car builds get to where they are, left foot braking is basically the name of the game now for the most part. And there's a huge debate going on right now within the series about whether or not left foot braking should be allowed. Now, I think some people think that there is a level of left foot braking that's acceptable because of the way that the cars have been built to be able to keep them in control. I mean, this isn't left foot brake around the course the entire time. This is, what does the car look like? How smooth is the car? And if you need to be able to do that and modulate the vehicle, left foot braking is a tool that you can use. That's one side of the argument. The other side of the argument is you need to build your car so that it doesn't left foot brake and that you never use that because that's a correction, right?
Right.
And both of those factions exist within the series. Now, what's happening with with the light is that now we don't know why it's on a lot of the time. I mean, was he left foot braking there or did he make a mistake?
Yeah.
And so it's better. What we think is let's just get rid of it. Let's accept the fact that left foot braking is going to happen, and let's judge the way that the car looks and let the judges make a call on that. And there'll be less confusion because if you're a fan that comes into the event for the very first time, you see a brake light coming on in the front, and it's not the same as the brake light coming on in the back that you're normally used to driving on the freeway. What does that tell you? It tells you that the guy's braking, but braking, it invokes badness, right, in your head. And unless you explain that thoroughly, that, oh, no, well, this is a technique that this guy uses in order to get his car around the course, it just becomes really hard to understand. So that example is something that I would say that, what we're trying to do is make it more clear for people about how we're doing the judging. We want to continue to use the point spread. We want to continue to have all the drivers see their raw data scores via email after qualifying. We want to be able to have all of the results be completely transparent, and then still have the judges be accountable and using Lantane as a communicator to say why a certain thing happened. All that stuff I still think holds.
Which for people who don't have some background information on this, a few episodes ago we were talking about this, where some cars, when they brake, they actually go faster, just by slightly tapping their brakes. It seems like they either control their tire spin a little bit better and the car puts more traction, or the front tires just get more grippy or something. But somehow, I mean, I think it was Vaughn, right? One of the guys were like,
Pat Gooden was talking about it too.
Yeah, Pat Gooden was mentioning that exactly. That some cars actually go faster when they're going over braking. So, like the whole thinking of, oh, he braked, that should be a deduction. It depends on the car. So that's probably why this light's going away. Am I correct?
Yeah, and that's part of the evolution of the sport. And we're never going to be able to contain that 100% because the way that these guys have become so ingenious in building their vehicles, Kevin has to literally try to anticipate what X modification is going to do to a certain car and what tendencies are going to come out of that vehicle and how is that going to maybe confuse people or put things in a different direction. So, that is also a moving target. But I think it became pretty clear to us, around Irwindale last year at one of the drivers' meetings that light is just not really serving the purpose that it once should, and it's causing more confusion than it is.
Yeah.
And it should be.
Awesome. Yeah, I fully support that rule.
So any kind of like metrics sensor inside the car, accelerometers?
Well, I think that's something we'll leave for Kevin because it sounds like you guys gave us the approval to speak with Kevin here soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you guys can tease that if you want. If you want to say something about that, Jim, I think that's okay, right?
Coming soon to a podcast.
I think
for you.
It's more educational if you guys dig deeper with Kevin than
Absolutely.
obviously than with us. In terms of onboard data, we're always looking into that. We probably looked into, correct me if I'm wrong, right? We probably invested time and money and probably looked into half a dozen systems at this point. We're looking at a seventh one now. If it works, I think we've also learned and evolved as a sport, and judging has evolved, and we're trying to make it a more simplified process. So the data that we're actually trying to extrapolate from the vehicles is probably not what we were originally looking at, and maybe what the competitive field was looking at. So we've definitely simplified what we're looking for, and I think with technology changing, it's a lot more accessible. So again, we're testing one more thing right now, and hopefully we'll get somewhere with it.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah, we will hopefully be talking to Kevin Wells very soon here to discuss the super deep nerdy side of the rules and car builds and all that stuff.
I have another question. Last year, we saw you guys experimenting a lot with onboard cameras, and you guys were doing like independent live streaming from different people's cars, which I thought it was super cool. But is this going to become like more like a standard thing now on this year, where like maybe the part of the replay, the judges get to see inside of the cars, or even like that onboard camera gets to be shared on the live stream?
Yeah, I mean, we'll be straight honest with you. I mean, that particular thing, that technology piece, to have in all top 16 cars ideally, is something that we think is the biggest thing that we're missing right now. And we spent a lot of time in the offseason trying to figure out how to be able to do that affordably and also logistically. You know,
Right.
Does it mean we have to go in and put cameras in 16 cars, and what does that look like? Well, that looks like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, can we do it in 8 cars and swap them out? What does that look like? Okay, you can do that, but you're going to have a 5-second latency broadcast, so it can only be used as a replay or something like that if it picks it up.
Yeah.
And what we boiled it down to is the most reasonable way to do it is probably to do like a 4-camera setup that has like a 2-second latency, which is not going to give you real time. It's going to be kind of like the drone footage you saw at Road Atlanta a couple of years ago, where if you go over to it in real time, you lose a little bit of time reference because it has a little bit of a lag. And so the real application for that is using it in replay. We're not there yet. I want to be there. It's something that we've been trying to get somebody to buy into it because it's so expensive. But honestly, I think that right there would solve a lot of the ambiguity when it comes to, again, justifying calls to fans from judges, because judges see things, they can verify things from talking over the radio, but it doesn't help a fan if we tell somebody over the loudspeaker that we see this particular thing inside this person's vehicle, or I pulled this off of one of the Blackview cards in between the rounds. It doesn't help anybody. It helps us, and it helps us justify to the driver, but it doesn't help us justify to the fans. And I honestly think that is the one thing that we are missing that we do need to have in the future.
Right. It'd be a great way to put those 4 cameras in Kristaps' car for testing.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them. Just put them in Kristaps for testing.
And
Set a
someone in
benchmark.
the Facebook chat said, and of course a microphone.
Oh yeah,
You can
yeah. We
hear,
got to get a
all of
microphone.
Kristaps' colorful language.
You'd be surprised some of the stuff we pulled off those cameras over the past 2
Oh
years.
man.
I wouldn't be surprised. I hear people talking their crew radios.
Yeah, I think
few
if you can
leaks.
combine your footage and FD's footage, Sam, I bet you guys can make a pretty solid highlight reel with what you
Yeah.
see inside the car.
Well, it's funny too because you actually do hear it on the NASCAR crew radios too, because NASCAR had tried to implement that, I believe, and there was definitely a lot of color that was spoken about on the crew radios. Even though I think they just forget in the intensity of the battle that the way you talk to your spotter or anyone else on the team might be a little bit different than how you would want the public to hear you talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's head over to the Instagram questions.
but before-
to get in one more thing,
It's
Paco.
just real quick. What about adding any more cameras to check like different angles for the live stream? Are you considering like at least having one more camera, anything like that?
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll always try to add camera angles where we actually can logistically, and if we can run, fiber to that particular area. But basically, I think our setup is pretty much there. I think there's a few areas where we've noticed that over the past couple of years with the tire smoke that we probably need some other vantage points, but it's really hard to get around that. So that's where I think where the in-car cams would be a greater service, because even though you'd be bombarded with smoke in certain areas when it fills up with the cars, you'd be able to get some sort of a vantage point. But I think what we're going to settle on is we're going to do a 2-camera shot for Thursday Pro 2, a 2-camera shot for Friday, and then a 3 to 4 camera shot for Saturdays.
Awesome,
Sweet.
dude.
Plus the ret, of course.
Oh, absolutely. So Sam, here we go. You guys ready for some Instagram questions? The infamous Instagram.
Infamousimo.
Yeah. And of course, we're carrying on the theme of no joking around. These are only serious questions, and we hope you guys answer seriously. So let's start out with Richard Dinger, hot dog flinger. If there was an all-out brawl at FD and it turned into a demo derby, who is going to come out on top and why?
Well, that's easy.
Well, amongst who? Drivers?
All drivers,
Or everybody?
Top 32.
Oh,
Top 32, I'd say. Well, let's hear your answer for top 32, and then we'll hear everyone. The demo derby, top 32 drivers and their cars. Who's going to win?
I would say it's between Kristaps and Chelsea.
Not
Vaughn
a
has the
bad
most experience
choice.
running
Ooh.
people over, though.
That's true.
Well, I mean, but they're a little like their cars are already biased towards hitting stuff. Vaughn and Chelsea, so they kind of have like a little bit of an advantage right there.
Yeah, they're used to
What
it.
about you, Ryan? What do you think?
It's hard to disagree with those picks, to be honest. I think Kristaps might be at the top of the heap there. He definitely proved himself this year. So
Yeah.
What does RTR stand for,
in a
Sam?
perfectly good way, by the way. I think there's
Yeah.
more content gold from Kristaps than probably any other driver, especially if you catch any of the B-side stuff that was was put out.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I got one from Yogurt Hammer.
Ooh,
Yeah, he wants to
first-time
know.
listener.
He wants to know how are we looking for car count this year in Pro One.
Better. Like I said, I think we have more team interest and willingness to be ready to commit, but they have to sort out tires, and we're working on how to resolve that.
But it's looking a little bit more solid than what we came into last year.
Yeah.
Do you know how
The
many licenses were issued this year?
37?
37 or 39 pro licenses.
And that's if everybody shows up.
I think, and then I think the tricky part is some of them are the international petitions.
Right.
There are, hey, we said it before, we welcome the best of the best to come and compete here, and let's see how they do. And we've awarded top drivers in certain countries, certain regions, the opportunity to come. So it's really up to them to figure out the program to come. And sometimes it's a catch-22. I understand. You gotta have the petition to see if you can get in before you can go figure out if your program is there or not. Other times people are fishing. They just want to see if they can get a license and then call it a day and really not have any plans to commit. So it's hard to filter that through when on their driving resume, from everything we know and we've seen, it's a competent driver. But ultimately they still have to get their equipment across the water and get here and compete and commit to 8 rounds across the U.S.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys picked Paco this year to run in Pro One. That was smart choice.
Definitely
yeah.
a good move.
Definitely a good
smart
move.
move. There's a lot of Instagram questions addressing Irwindale, which I think we've kind of not overtalked about. We've already covered, I'd say, ad nauseum, so we don't really need to hit those. But we're not ignoring you guys. We just we covered Irwindale pretty well. This is a very interesting question that I'm personally invested in. Monster and Sam says, marry, make love to, or kill the Maximum Driftcast cast.
Wow.
That's gonna be tough, and I just want to emphasize to both of you.
I just like how both of
choose
them
wisely.
I like how they both turned bright red as soon as you asked that, Sam.
No, they're red with eagerness and
Oh,
excitement
pretty-
at finally being asked this question.
Passion.
It's just red face of passion.
Okay, I can do this.
Oh God, here we
I think I'd have to marry you, Sam.
Thank you.
I think you have stability, and we would be spending a lot of time together. I think we could have some interesting conversations.
Whoa.
True.
I'm a great housewife. What are you talking about?
I'd have to. What's the replacement for F? That we
Make
can't.
love to, make sweet love to, sensual.
I
sweet love.
think
Or
I'd have
friend.
to make love to Paco because
Oh my
I wouldn't want to have a lot of the pillow talk afterwards, and I think that he would oblige with that.
Well, that's the thing is Polo Talk doesn't last long with Paco because you don't know what he's saying half the time.
I'm the king of the pump and dump.
Oh boy.
So how did I get the axe, Sage? What did I do?
And that leaves murdering Corey.
Yeah, but I wouldn't murder you until you actually died anyway. So that's my caveat.
Do you know what
Right
happened,
before-
Corey?
So I
Right
get to
before you're
live.
going out.
I get to live a long, healthy life with Jim then.
Yeah, but the thing is that you never qualified.
It's all right. That's what happens. Sometimes that happens, Yako. Hopefully you make it up this year for me.
You will be there, bro. Jim?
Look, Jim. Oh, looks like Jim just left the chat.
I'm waiting for my turn. I want to answer
Shut
your
up,
questions.
Paco. Shut up, Paco.
No, I think I'll start with I'll agree with Ryan. I think I'd marry Sam.
Oh my God, Sam!
Quite a.
I can provide for the family. I can
Quite an
I'll always
articulate
have
individual.
always
and
have
have
your old fashioned ready for you when you come home.
Yes.
Such a suck up.
Forgot about that. That's a good one. I think I would second one probably with Corey.
Make love to?
Finally.
Yeah, because
God.
he looks like he may just fall asleep after.
I probably.
He's gonna fall asleep during. To be fair. A lot of physical exertion makes him fall asleep.
Plus, Corey seems like he was built to be the small spoon.
Oh, for sure.
He's built for comfort. He's not built for speed.
And I usually don't sleep much when my feet hang off the bed, but that's all right.
Well, you know,
And Paco.
you know what, Jim?
I'm sorry, Paco, but I would say if I had to compare between Corey and you'd be probably easier to kill than Corey.
Well, guess what, buddy? You can't kill what's dead already.
Oh,
Whoa!
Cue the emo music in the background.
You mean
Paco.
dead inside? I thought that you been dead like a ghost.
Well,
I can't believe that.
no tacos for you, sir.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Paco would cook some delicious Mexican food if you like menudo. I'm sure you can have menudo every day.
Oh, bummer.
We should have married Paco.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still in time to reconsider.
Oh God.
What if I kill Corey for you?
There's so many questions. Jesus Christ, you guys, this is awesome.
Why don't you do? Well, I'll do next one. Look, Sean Payne says, "Do you foresee letting electric cars getting into FD in the future, 10 years or so?" In parentheses, it doesn't have to be 10 years, but do you foresee electric cars in Formula Drift?
There is already a window to allow for something to that effect. Kevin's looking at mainly the issue of the battery and the containment of the battery and how to safely deal with batteries on cars. So I will table that to Kevin.
Yeah, I think that's a good conversation to have with Kevin, and I'm pretty excited to see if and when it comes in, because torque motors provide, or excuse me, electric motors provide very instant torque, and I'm curious to see how that could be implemented into FD as a secondary thing. I don't think personally I'd like to see a full electric car yet,
Right.
but we'll discuss that with Kevin.
Yeah. It'd just be interesting to see him fully torqued, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm fully torqued right now to give you a little visual.
nice. Cool, Sam. Well, that's awesome.
Corey, what do you have?
I have a question here from Alex Sulate Drift.
Okay.
With all the recent talk about Pro-Am cars growing to a level of Pro 2 cars, does Formula D have any plans to regulate Pro-Am or even potentially create an even lower level for lower level cars? Let's say like Pro 3?
Interesting. I mean, the latter is an ongoing thing. I think when we first introduced Pro 2, we didn't know if that was enough to kind of create the bridge going from Pro-Am to Pro. I think we found that it's grown and become successful. Now we have to get our arms around what's happening within Pro-Am, and then bridging a grassroots enthusiast that's going to a track day to want to compete in Pro-Am, and then from Pro-Am to Pro 2, is that too big of a jump? Is it a regional Pro-Am? There's talks of, well, what if there's one step down from Pro 2, but it's broken up into, a west and an east, something to that effect. I think there's a lot of work to be done, for us, but, we're honing in on a few things, and, Pro 2 is definitely top on the list right now. I think we're getting into stride with Pro 2, and we have to tackle Pro-Am. So,
I also have a question from username A-Beat Brian. Wait a second. That's Big Balls Brian.
No, I didn't post anything. What are you talking
Whatever.
about? I didn't.
He's
Somebody's an imposter.
Wink, wink.
Oh.
Hey, Big Balls, what do you have to ask Sage and Jimmy Liaw here.
Oh, I don't know. What do I got there, Paco?
So big A-Bit Brian is asking. We saw a commercial not long ago about some brand of steering wheels, like simulator steering wheels, that was posted on Formula Drift. Does this mean is there any kind of relationship going on with Formula Drift and any kind of like drifting simulators or any possible Formula Drift video game happening in the future?
Simulator, no, but it is on our list of many things to work on and to talk to people about. Actually, we have talked to a few people about it, but not really in depth. Video games, different story. There are some things in the works. We'll get to that when that happens.
I just want to put my name on the list now to be a beta tester for this, and maybe possibly consultant. Just throwing it out there. Thank you.
There you go.
I'm outside.
I got one from Chris JDSS. Who would play you in a movie?
Oof.
Who would play?
Brian's thinking about it. I can see he's thinking really hard.
I know who would play Jim.
Who?
Who's that Asian guy from the Goonies?
Oh my God.
Oh, he's actually a stunt coordinator now.
Is he?
Yeah, he works.
Is he?
He was stunt coordinator for the X-Men movies and a few other movies.
Ryan knows everything.
Who would be
movie-related.
Ryan?
There's a lack of Asian American faces in modern day cinema today, so
Doesn't have to
I
be
would
Asian
look forward to.
I think Jim Law should be.
Jim Lau should be Chow Yun Fat should be Jim Lau.
No,
we haven't seen Chow Yun
How
Fat
come Ryan
back in
can't
the
be
movie.
him?
I would say that Jim Lau's more of a Ryan Gosling.
I was thinking Ryan
Yeah.
Gosling for Jim Lau. Yes.
And Ryan would be
The guy who played Hitman.
Macaulay Culkin. You're
Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. Yep, not bad, Sam.
Get the Caucasian guy to play the Asian guy. That's fine.
Or maybe the guy that shows up when you Google Ryan Sage on Google.
That'd be a good actor too.
Oh yeah, have Ryan Sage play me.
Right. There you go.
Ryan Sage as
Sage,
Ryan
Sage.
Sage.
Ryan Sage. Well, that's
Yeah.
it.
Should we make this
Somebody, a Logan.
Hey, there's a Singaporean wedding photographer that has the same name as me.
Jim Law?
Dude.
Yep, exactly.
Well, Logan in our chat says Danny DeVito can play Ryan Sage.
He's a very
That's awesome.
That would be cool. That'd be pretty good.
he's a method actor, so I'm sure he can get it right.
Long-time commenter, first-time commenter, Iron Dookie, making a guest appearance back on the comment board. It's more of a statement, but it's really good. Rumor has it that the Vegas round was scrubbed because Ricky Martin still hasn't lifted the restraining order, and since the track is within 1,000 feet of his concert, Ryan Sage wouldn't be allowed to attend the race weekend. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. You caught
Good
confirm.
one, Dookie.
Good job, Dookie. That was good.
We'll get Paco to work on that one for us.
Confirm. Should I go live la vida loca?
Yeah, that's it. Well, I think I'm good on
Yeah,
question,
yeah.
boys. How are you guys? You guys all?
I'm good. There's a bunch of hater questions here that just to involve Irwindale and Vegas, but one of the reasons
think
why
we'll be
we
able to
wanted
answer
talk
all
to you guys
those.
on the show was to talk about that stuff, and I think in the end of the day, the decision you made is justified, and people will continue to discuss it as they will. But I think we all kind of have an idea what's best for the sport, and I'm happy with the decision. And thank you guys for taking the time to be on the show.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's always fun.
Thank you for wanting to hang out with us 8 times a year.
Oh,
No,
hey, yeah.
we're gonna be back there soon.
Well,
We're gonna be back at your house.
We will be hanging
tomorrow.
out.
Oh yeah.
Tomorrow morning, bright and
Okay.
early. We'll see you soon, Jim.
Okay.
What you guys going hiking or something?
Yeah, we're gonna go hiking.
Uh,
That's what happens,
no,
dude.
I'm-
When you're friends, this is what we do, Paco. Sorry.
Oh.
No, I just like to wake up to seeing Jim wake up. So I usually fall asleep in
Is
his
this-
front yard.
Is this hair all messy, Sam? Like, does he wake up, hair messy?
Yeah,
robe?
he-
My robe?
He
Brush
he
it.
yawns in such a nice way too when he first wakes up. So that really gets my day going when I see him going. So.
You get a little boop. Wake up, silly.
Pop him on the nose to get him up.
I don't think he knows about it, and actually I'd like to keep it that way. So we'll just keep the status quo, you know.
Yep, I feel you.
Oh,
All right,
my
gentlemen.
God.
Thank you for everything you do. Thank you guys for giving us an outlet. Without you guys, we'd be talking probably about Paco's yoga classes
A
and
yogurt machine.
his-
No, it's funny you should mention that because when we look at the iTunes rankings as our show thankfully steadily climbs, it's funny to see we're climbing the ranks for our field, and it's like we've got a huge growing audience, and then I look like in the space right above us is like called like Maximum Knitting Cast or something. So drifting still not nearly as popular as knitting, but we're gonna get there.
We're
soon,
getting
guys.
there.
We broke in the top 100 on iTunes for hobbies and sports, by the way, boys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
We just have to find a way to get to the older ladies. Who
we got
are-
to get past the
Yeah.
knitters, the knitters of the
knitters.
world. So
Yeah.
working our way up. But thank you
Well,
guys.
there.
Thank you for everything.
We're stoked with what you guys are doing. It's great. It's really good to have other people, covering drifting in a regular way and in a unique way. So keep up the
Regular.
good work.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Regular.
you know,
I guess we're
more often than just the
yeah.
8 rounds.
Okay, yeah, like in a not unique way, which I guess you don't really have a choice when it comes to drifting podcasts right now. So. If you want something else, you can go screw yourselves because this is what you got, guys.
Yeah, deal with it. But anyways,
That's
Deal with it.
thank you guys. We will see you in
guys.
Long Beach, if not sooner.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
See
Yes,
ya.
yes. And I mean, hopefully they're gone.
I hope that I don't. Yeah.
Because I was about.
There you go.
Brian, can you immediately hang up? We got so much stuff to talk about these guys.
All right, I'm hanging up in
All right,
now.
hurry up. Oh,
Yes. Oh, there you go. Oh, man.
Ugh, what a show.
Wow.
Should we just
Man.
delete this
It was
one
a
now, or
shitstorm.
Can we delete this one before? Or
We shouldn't
delete-
post this one, I don't think.
Yeah, it was bad. I think everything is terrible. Nobody was watching. People was very happy about Irwindale.
Yep.
You know, they were
I'm
loving
really
it.
happy to hear that Ryan and Jim both want to marry me, so that's exciting.
God dang it, Sam. How'd you score that? What did you do differently?
I'm the one who needs a green card, by the way.
Oh,
Wait,
Sam.
so did you guys send in your edible arrangements before the episode?
Oh.
Yeah, see?
I already sent mine in.
He looks
That-
very distinguished.
Oh, who is that?
Oh, what?
Oh, they're still here. Oh
They're
my
still
God.
here, Brian.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh my God.
Man, we're all here.
Brian, you're not doing your job. Come on.
Guys, real
Oh
quick
God.
before we close
Oh God.
out,
You should
I
see.
thought
Brian
of
is
something
sweating
really-
right now. Brian is sweating. His face is bright red. He's unplugged his mic.
I gotta go.
Guess it was
I gotta go.
Before we close out the show, I thought of something that might be kind of entertaining for us. Some of you may notice, if you're watching the show live, that the background here is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because I'm at RS, and I'm going to go grab someone. And if you guys would be so kind as to have the screen on Corey's screen,
Okay.
that'd be great.
All right,
Okay,
so it's
there
on
you
me.
go.
So now I have a story time here until Sam gets back. And actually, when it cut to Sam, I thought he was in his new trailer park in Venice.
Uh-huh.
But I guess he's not there anymore. So he's at RS, which we never done a show with Sam at RS. So I don't know what he could be doing right now.
It's funny. I was there this weekend.
Yes.
And I was supposed to drop a box.
Yep.
And there was nobody there. Nobody asked me for the box. So I drove back.
No.
I have the box with me in the truck.
What is it? What's in it?
It's a secret.
What's in the box?
It's a secret. So we're just bringing it back in a couple of weeks. But
Paco, do you know we're going to all 8 rounds of Formula Drift this year?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for such commitment, Corey.
I think we might be going to all 8 rounds, no matter what. So if you like it or not, we'll be there. We will have actually a full announcement probably in the next 2 weeks of what we're going to be doing at all 8 rounds, but it's going to be awesome.
So, Ryan,
Uh-oh.
here,
Oh,
you take a seat.
oh boy.
Oh boy.
Put on the headphones.
Oh.
Oh,
You guys ready? Hold on.
Yes.
I brought Turk in for something.
Uh-oh.
Turk, I want you to look on Corey's screen there. And,
I already see it, dude.
what is it?
Who is
My
it?
trophy.
What are you
Uh-oh.
talking about, dude? We just made this. It's
We won it.
hold on, let me take a better look at it. Hold on. Let me pull the sticker off.
We earned it with our hard driving skills and
This trophy. We're
Uh-oh.
going to keep this a top secret, dude. You're not supposed to know this.
Corey making it.
That's bad adhesive.
Yeah, it's actually
Dude,
pulling everything off.
Why are you peeling your logo off?
Because I want to show you something. This is when Paco won 3rd place in Long Beach.
In 2017.
Yep.
I drove hard that day.
You drove
dude.
really hard
Oh
that
my
day.
God.
What was the competition like that day?
Brutal.
Brutal.
It was brutal. It was wet.
Yep.
And Chris Stubbs was calling everybody names.
Yeah.
And but I found a way to snag a trophy
Not
off the
bad.
shelf.
Congrats.
Literally.
Did you have to beat Ryan for that trophy?
Well, it's a bummer. I thought you would have went all the way, but I think your car broke, so that's unfortunate for you.
Yeah, he ended up. What'd you do? Blow
My
a diff?
differential blew
Blew a
up
diff?
as usual.
Yeah, that's
You know,
typical.
I got a surprise for all you guys for this season. So
You got a surprise for these guys?
yeah,
What do you got?
well, it's a surprise, Corey.
Well, that's no fun.
Maybe Paco knows something about it. Paco,
Hey,
Like, I have to leave, so
Aw.
sorry, guys.
what do you got to do? Well, you just look like you got a good suntan. What have you been
Work
doing?
on cars.
Have you
I
been-
gotta watch Forsberg work on my car.
oh, that's right.
It looks like you've been laying out, living life in Venice, getting a suntan. Look how he's golden bronze.
I know I'm burnt. I'm getting those cracks in the side of my eyes already.
Dude.
Desert child.
Did you move out there or what? Sam doesn't tell us anything.
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe.
There's a
I
lot
gotta
of
go, though.
red
I gotta
tape.
go. I'll see you guys.
All
later.
right.
All
well,
right.
Thanks.
I'm
Thanks.
gonna steal that trophy back soon.
No,
Well,
good luck.
yeah,
you have
come-
to fight us for
Come
it.
and get it.
Thanks, Ryan.
I'm
Can't believe
confused.
you guys.
Did-
Were we supposed to do something there or no?
What you could
No,
have.
Oh,
I mean,
Brian
if you
still
wanted to-
Wait, oh, they're still on. Sorry.
Oh my God, Brian!
The button's not working. I don't get it.
So
I didn't know if we were supposed to say hi to him or watch something like a prank or I was.
No,
confused.
that wasn't so much for you. I just wanted to. Apparently, Turk can't keep track of his winning trophies since he wins them so often. That
So
one of them ended up in
for you guys, Ryan and Jim, we actually stole one of Turk's trophies from Forsberg's house, so now we have it in the studio. So we claim this is Paco taking third place in Long Beach, actually.
Very good.
yeah.
Nice.
Thank you guys.
Cool. All right. Are we good?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're good.
You're good. Leave.
All right.
Why are you here still? Get out of here.
I don't
Because
know.
Brian's not doing his duty over there.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I think
There's no. Where's a closure in this? I don't know.
Okay, well, let's just close it
Well,
then.
right.
Actually, let's just shut down the show.
Actually, you know what? Let's do something. We
Yeah, we
you know,
guys have been
let's
here
do it
the
together.
longest with us.
let's sing a song with Ryan and Jim. We all know how much
They
they
love
karaoke.
singing.
Ryan and Jim, you guys know.
I'm just gonna hang up right now. Bye.
No, Ryan and Jim, don't leave. You guys know the closing song that we sing every Maximum Driftcast. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready, Sam. I know it by heart.
All right,
Let him start,
so-
and then we follow them.
Okay. So
Three,
who starts?
two.
No, let Sam start.
No,
Yeah,
let-
no.
Sam starts.
No,
we
let,
follow.
let Jim and Ryan start it. They know it
You
pretty
guys-
good.
Yeah, Ryan, Sage, you remember the closing song? Why don't you start it up?
Okay.
No, I
and a
don't.
one.
Okay,
and
well
a two.
then Corey and I will start it.
Okay,
You
ready?
And a
Yep.
one,
This is
two,
for you guys.
three.
Talk.
Three.
Thank
Thank
you
for watching
our show.
Our show.
We like wish you
A
guys
Merry
You guys
Christmas.
so much
have
luck and
Happy New Year.
happiness.
There you go. Feel it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's our
For
closer
real?
song.
Good job, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining
All right.
us.
Thanks for your
Yeah,
time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
And
you.
let's
Send over the lyrics next time.
Thanks
sing
to,
along.
AM Intakes, thanks to McLeod Clutches, thanks to our Patreon.
Our Patreon.
Of course, we couldn't do it without you guys. And thanks for tuning into the show with Ryan and Jim, founders of FD, and we will talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye,
Everybody have a good night.
guys.
have a good
Later.
night. Peace. Oh, there you go. They finally hang up. Roll the credits. Peace out.
What? What?
There you go.
What?
Oh,
What?
Brian, cut to me real
Frozen.
quick. Cut to
Now
me.
they're leaving.
No. That's how we get our video demonetized.
All right. I've got to pee like crazy.
Have a good
so we
one.
gotta-
See you
Good
guys.
night, everybody.
Good
See you
night.
soon.
Good night. Sleep tight.
Why is that basswood on there?